I think the president's statement was very, very strong, right? Very straightforward. He wants to see an investigation that's swift, an investigation that's comprehensive, that brings accountability, and he wants to make sure that it is made public. We leave it to obviously the Israeli government to do that investigation, but we want to make sure that it's swift, it's comprehensive, that it's made public, and it is important. We need to certainly get to the bottom of exactly what happened.
Can you explain what that would entail, a kind of investigation like this? This is a strike that happened in an active war zone. Can you give us some detail on what it looks like?
Look, IDF said they have an ongoing investigation is underway. I think that's important. We've called for this investigation to happen. I think that's important. We wanted to see it happen in a swift manner. We want to make sure that the findings are public and that there's accountability. I want to be very careful here. I'm not going to get ahead of that process. There's a process underway. I believe my NSC colleague mentioned that they have some initial findings. It's preliminary, and so that process is going to continue. I'm going to let that process go underway and let the Israeli government speak to that.
Well, for the sake of transparency, can you explain what that process is and if the U.S. is confident in that process?
Look, I'm not going to get into hypotheticals. I'm not going to get into a particular process here. We want to see something that is comprehensive. We want to see something that leads to accountability. We want to see it be swift, and we want to make sure that it is made available to the public. That's what the Israeli government, that's what Prime Minister Netanyahu said he's going to do, and we're going to let that process flow. We're going to let that process happen.
So Kirby said earlier today that they're hoping to get in the books a meeting in person next week with an Israeli delegation. Yeah. Can you provide any more details on that and who might come?
I'm not going to provide any details on that. What I can say is basically from the readout is that the expectation is to have a meeting in person. I think it was important that there was a virtual meeting that occurred obviously on Monday to talk about the Rafah operations. We've been very clear where we stand on this, very clear. We believe there has to be alternative ways to deal with Hamas in Gaza, as we're specifically in Rafah. A military operation, we believe, is not the way to move forward. There is active conversations happening with the Israeli government and obviously our government, and I think that's important. I'm not going to go into details from here. As you heard from us, as you heard from my colleague, there's going to be hopefully next week in-person meeting, and we're looking forward to continuing those really critical, important conversations.
Do you anticipate any changes to the president's policy toward Israel and Gaza as a result of yesterday's strike?
I can say that nothing has changed, and we've been clear about that since certainly since yesterday. We are going to continue to have those really tough conversations, right? Important, tough conversations about how Israel moves forward with their operation. We want to make sure that civilians are kept safe, that are protected, and also folks who are providing humanitarian aid. The president was very, very clear. He also said in his statement that Israel needs to do more. We've been very clear about that as well. We're going to continue to have those conversations with our Israel counterparts, and look, you know, this is important to this president. But I will also add, that's why the hostage deal is so critical. That's why the president has been working.
All right, we're going to jump in here.
Long.
Just listening to Karine Jean-Pierre. She's the White House press secretary with the latest on this deadly Israeli airstrike, which the head of the Israeli military has apologized for. 7 aid workers were killed in an airstrike in Gaza. And of course, that has led to even more condemnation of Israel's military operations in Gaza, as Israel has certainly seen itself under a lot of criticism, growing criticism by the day, by the week now, after this war began in early October. The White House has called for an investigation. This is leading to, some pretty tense conversations. Remember, the United States is the closest ally of Israel and has been in lockstep with them for much of this war. But in recent months, we're starting to see growing rift between the White House and Israel over what's going on. This is just the latest example with the death of 7 humanitarian aid workers. We're going to keep our eye on that.